All right. Well, Jim, let's get what will probably be our final question here this week. This was sent to cornydrivethrough at gmail.com from Matt Reed in Eatonton, Georgia. Hey, Jim. My social media algorithm has been feeding me dozens of videos from wrestling conventions, and it has me wondering if these gatherings of legends are as depressing as it seems. Most of the clips, the wrestlers are barely smiling, or lack any enthusiasm to meet the people who paid to see them. As a follow-up, how do wrestlers get paid for these events? Is it a flat rate for all, or do you get paid more depending on your box office draw?
Well, there's no way to attribute a box office draw to a guest at a fan fest. I mean, you can kind of figure, but first of all, it depends on the fan fest because there have been, and I've been to many of them. I remember several, including one in Atlanta, Georgia, one time where there was absolutely nobody fucking there because the promoters, even though I, in this case, warned them of what they were getting into, they didn't know what they were doing and nobody knew the shit was happening. And when guys are sitting around with no fans and, just sitting there, it's fucking miserable. And then, you get some of the guys just do it for the money. They don't like meeting the people or they don't want to take the time to sign the autographs or whatever. And you can tell they don't want to be there. And there's those comments, then go out after the fan fest from the fans who were kind of ticked off about it. Well, fuck, he could have looked up at me, which he could have. And then I always thought I applied it as the same way as I did going to a show. I'm going there to be Jim Cornette. Instead of managing wrestlers and yelling at the fans, I'm meeting the fans and talking to the fans. And, if I ain't got enough energy for that people came and paid money to see and talk to me, then I shouldn't be there. Which now that I have very little energy these days is why I'm not there. It's a lot of hard work to be cheerful, Brian, for 8 hours at a time. But that's it just depends on who the guy is, and it depends on at a successful fan fest. I've been so busy signing autographs and selling merchandise and talking to people and taking pictures or whatever that at the end of the time you realize I barely sat down once. It's just steady fucking people. Or it can be shitty the other way. But as far as how you get paid, it's most of the time the guys get a guarantee to go for a period of time and either do a Q&A or sign autographs or take pictures or whatever the deal is. Sometimes they have these agents, and that's a mixed bag, that they have to give part of the cut of the money to, or that's book them or set them up or whatever. But again, they get a flat fee. But to be honest, for the last 3 or 4 years that I was doing any kind of fan fests or autograph deals or whatever, I would just tell the promoter, give me a table, advertise I'm going to be there and get the fuck out of my way. Because I would bring all my merchandise and sell all my stuff and make more money than I would have on a guarantee, and I had more fun too. And that way they couldn't really tell me what to do or what I had to do or what I needed to do. I could just bullshit with the people. So it just depends on what the situation is and what the deal that's been made as far as who's paying who for what.
We hear from people, who always say that they miss you on the convention scene or they met you years ago. Almost 100% of the time, if not 100% of the time, it's Jim was so nice. It was such a great experience meeting him. I bought this, this, and this. But there are a lot of guys, again, they go there and they either have a bad attitude. You hear stories, you see footage, or they clearly don't want to be there, or they're there just for the money. I don't know what my question was now that I say all these insults about random wrestlers, but you gave everyone a good experience and people came there and they walked away with that good experience. You hear stories also about the other side of it, like wrestlers, people love Jimmy Valiant. They may not love the fact that you couldn't walk past them without buying something. But what do you think a lot of guys miss? Because there are plenty of people who go to conventions and they may not be Jim Cornette, but there's someone who did something that people were fans of, and maybe they don't do the business you would have done. Maybe they don't have as many different things that they're controlling themselves. I guess you addressed all these things differently
Yes, but
than everyone.
also the thing is, a lot of the guys weren't necessarily fans. Some of it, like Bobby Eaton, he was such a fan from when he was a little kid. He could sit around and talk to the fans all day and understand but other guys maybe weren't fans and don't understand what the fans like and what they like to talk about, or maybe they can talk about their own shit but they can't talk about somebody else's. When somebody would come up to me from Memphis, oh, remember in the Coliseum, Lawler and Joe LeDuc? Oh yeah, and we'll do 15 minutes because I was a fan, or I understand what they liked, or what they're talking about, or just that's also, to me, it's the same kind of thing as guaranteed money in wrestling, because I'm old enough to remember when you didn't have that. And a lot of the guys bitched about it. We didn't have guaranteed money back then in those days. Well, but if you were good enough, you got there somehow. And if I know I'm getting $1,500, let's say as a flat amount, to sit at a table for 4 hours and sign autographs, then I may not be as driven and motivated to be peppy and push that shit as if I'm getting the money from what I sell. So I had motivation not only to have a good time with the thing, but to sell my merchandise by being cheerful instead of front faced. And it's the same thing. It killed a lot of the guys' motivation to go out and draw money and get over and have a personality when they started just saying, "Hey, you're going to get $150,000 a year, whether you discover a cure for cancer or shit to bed every night. Doesn't matter how good or bad you are, this is what you get." And no motivation.
Did you encounter many, if any, convention promoters that expected a cut of the merch you sell, even if it's your own?
Well, no, because anytime I went somewhere, the deal was done before anybody even advertised I was going to be there. Whoever was paying who what, or whoever was selling what and where, all that stuff would be worked out before I'd be advertised. Nobody ever came up and said, "Oh, by the way, Jim, I said I'd give you this table, but now I want 20%. Well, good luck."
And what about when you did something that was, like an added thing that people wanted, like for instance, a picture with not just Jim Cornette, but like Jim Cornette and the Midnight Express if they were there? How would that work?
Well, again, there would be, a price for pictures, and a lot. Sometimes with me in the midnight, we were on a guarantee where we had to do, whatever for the promoter in return for that guarantee. So they would set the price. But again, sometimes I would be over at my table, and the promoters were paying the boys, but I'd run over and do the pictures anyway because I wanted to make sure that everybody got what they wanted out of the thing. I had a point I was going to make also from something you said earlier, and I'm trying to think of what it was, and I can't.
All right. Well, this
But
is going
that's,
well.
but basically, that's the thing, is that I think if you give the people an enjoyable experience and have merchandise that they might want to buy at a price that's agreeable to everybody, then I don't want to guarantee. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I don't want to guarantee, because at a lot of the bigger fan fests, when I was getting paid by the promoter, I'd be sitting there at a fucking table where I didn't have time to talk to my old friends, or to fucking go and look around and buy all the other merchandise or push my own shit, because I was there at a table and I didn't want to be locked down. I like to circulate. And a lot of these things I would buy almost as much shit of other people's as I sold of mine, but I wanted to have that opportunity. So I liked a little more flexibility.
All right. So I guess it wasn't depressing for you, but you could understand why it may be for some others.
Well, then you can also make your own fun in a lot of cases, but yes, when there is absolutely nobody there, you're just sitting around with your dick in your hand. Maybe you're there for less money than you wanted to be anyway, whatever. I can see where guys are miserable, but I can't see guys being miserable when there's a bunch of fans there and they just want some attention because that's why you're fucking there.